I'm not going to take the last word because I'm going to oppose this motion. I'm going to vote no. I had a guidance counselor come up to me from a local high school at a random event. She said thank you to me, and I didn't know why. She explained that she had a student that was in trouble, and as she was talking to the student, he revealed that his mom was here in the country illegally, which I think is different than calling a person illegal, because people cannot be illegal. That's ridiculous. Things are illegal, but it's an insult to call people illegal. But his problems at school were related because his dad was beating his mother, and he told her he would have her deported if she called the police. That guidance counselor said because we passed that ordinance, he was able to solve the problem. The gentleman was arrested. The child's life got better. That's a real-world story in Spokane. Now, I grew up going to St. Anne's Church, and we had 4 years where we had a family of refugees from El Salvador that lived in our basement, and they were here for Sanctuary. And we had drills about what happens if the INS comes. But we didn't have drills about what happens if the police come and they could go to the grocery store, and we all knew that because local police don't enforce those laws, and there's reasons why. So the International Association of Police Chiefs policy paper from 2004, without assurances that they will not be subject to an immigration investigation and possible deportation, many immigrants with critical information will not come forward even when heinous crimes are committed. Instead, the opposite happens when you ask immigrants their status, which is then your town becomes a sanctuary city for criminals because they know they can commit crimes and won't be reported. Immigrants are less likely to contact police if trust is not established. A 2009 Police Foundation report on the impact of immigration enforcement by state and local law police found that 70% of police chiefs surveyed believe that immigrant crime victims are less likely to contact police than other members of the community. And when Maricopa County said, ask immigration status, their crime went up where the community surrounding them immediately went down that kept the same policies. It's not safe for our community. It's a bad policy. The fact that we've had the policy on the book for the last 10 years and haven't had any of those things happen disproves every example. And then Mr. Ahern comes up and discusses San Francisco. San Francisco does not accept ICE holds. We do. San Francisco does not cooperate with Border Patrol. You can look up San Francisco's policy, and it's blatant. All we're doing is saying we don't want biased, racist, discriminatory policing. And why is it discriminatory? Because if not, then our police officers are going to have to ask every single person in our entire community for their papers, unless you're going to pick out who they are. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do it by race. Necessarily, the policy is racist. We can't call it out and say the policy is racist. That's not saying you and you are racist. That's saying the policy is racist if it's adopted. And it is, and that's a factual statement that that's profiling. And nobody's calling you a person that wants to enforce the law racist, but that's what institutional racist is when we support policies for different reasons and they have racist results. But that's not why I'm going to vote against sending it to the ballot. I'm going to vote against it because, one, USA versus Arizona said that the federal government has the sole responsibility for immigration policy. It's the sole policy. We would be violating the Constitution by putting this on the ballot and having this passed. It was a crystal clear Supreme Court case that said our local law enforcement has no business involved because it's the sole responsibility of the federal government. The second reason is this violates our charter. The second paragraph specifically says that anytime the police even change, not the policy arm, the elected officers in the city council, but if the police change their internal policy, then the city council has to pass it, and then it goes to a referendum. Our charter says specifically that every referendum has to either gather the signatures and be put there by council. That's a direct clash. I'm not putting something on the ballot that's a direct clash with our charter. And the third reason is because look at that. If that's not biased language on an initiative form, I have no idea what is. When people are going to the doors and saying, well, you're committing crimes if you sign this, and they voted for criminals in our community, and this is horrible. No, that's biased. That's not allowed in our municipal code. So I know we supposedly only have two options, but my option is going to be to vote no because I'm mad as heck and not pleased at all. The Supreme Court made clear in a 2002 case, Arizona versus the United States, that the federal government has sole authority to enforce border and immigration laws. According to the High Court, local law enforcement agencies cannot start investigating or doing anything with people on suspicion that they may be in the U.S. illegally. I'm going to stand with the Constitution on this one. No. All right. Anybody else, or are we just voting?